Hi friends, it's Angie here, Angela Para Disney. I don't know whether to call this my October-November update or to try and break these down into specific subjects. But it's not about how slick my presentation is, or it's about getting the truth out there, and I challenge every one of us to do that in these urgent times. I guess the most pressing thing at the moment is that Sabine McNeill is in the midst of a 3-week trial in Southwark Crown Court in London. She's a 74-year-old disabled campaigner and activist. She was amongst at least 3 people that were involved with the leaking of the videos of the Hampstead children. After working in a lot of research, a lot of intel, they were first released in 2014 in Russia. I think it was November 2014. They were then released on the dark web, and a campaigner who was doing research found them and put them out there. I do not believe at any stage it was Sabine's intention to release them to the internet. She was actually desperately contacting, I believe, Theresa May and others to say, you have to help these children, there's a travesty going on. But she CC'd a blogger who released them. So they were released on multiple times. And this reminds me of Julian Assange being prosecuted, allegedly. It reminds me of Mueller and Clinton and the Democrats pressing for an inquiry into who leaked the emails, the Podesta emails, and who exposed the fact that Hillary Clinton had bleached 38,000 plus. There's another swathe of them discovered to have been leaked now. It's like we're getting things wrong. It's not about who did what. It's about what is the content of what was released or leaked or disseminated. It's so back to front to spend, in America, Mueller spent, best part of 2 years investigating who leaked the emails, was it the Russians, blah, blah, blah. Let's just first of all let's keep the main thing. What about the content of those emails, Pizzagate? And with regard to the UK, instead of persecuting a pensioner who is disabled and an upstanding citizen, what about the content of the children's disclosures? The main thing is that this was not properly investigated in the UK. It was, in fact, proactively covered up. And there is vast amounts of proof to that effect. So there have been questions over Sabine because she was, I think, a co-founder of Mackenzie Friends with Belinda. They aligned themselves with Roger Gleaves and Terence Ewing, paedophiles. They aligned themselves with John Henning MP, who's been accused quite credibly by Esther Baker. They've aligned themselves with Peter Hofschrauer, who was found pretty convincingly guilty of having child pornography on his technology dating back to 1997. They have some dodgy connections. However, I don't believe that Sabine can be MI5, Deep State, MI6, and be in jail since February, be arrested 8 times up until then. I've been at cases where she's been jailed, on a long bank holiday weekend, or raided at midnight, or terrorized. And it doesn't add up to me that she may have made some very wrong alliances in the past, and she may be under the influence of Belinda, who I still have big question marks about. But I don't buy it that she's an agent, because I don't see agents sitting in prison since February and going through the hell she's going through. So I would ask the UK survivors, campaigners, ordinary people, like I've posted on Facebook, even, you know, I don't know a lot about Tommy Robinson. There are some question marks there, just like there are some question marks over Mackenzie Friends. But when things are urgent, I think we need to just say, right, let's ask those questions in due course. But in the meantime, we need to rise up against the Luciferians and the Satanists, or they are going to wipe the floor with us. So I'll just give you, I had an update by phone last night about Sabine's court case. There are currently just 3 or 4 supporters there for her, and 3 or 4 Hoaxdead research Satanists attending court. It's believed to be Karen Irving, you know, who's the second El Coyote as far as our research shows us, a Canadian national living in Belsize Park, attending Christchurch allegedly, and connected to Sophie Dix, one of the named abusers allegedly. So she's in daily attendance, seeming self-assured and sort of weird purple hair and glasses. And the only thing is, she's described by the person that gave me an update rather younger than my research showed her to be the same age as me, which is 61. But the person in court said she looked, you know, 40. So I don't know. Also, it seems like Stephen Keyes is there again. I hope you're watching, Heather, because Stephen Keyes has far from resigned from Hoaxdead Research. So he's allegedly attending daily, although he flees like a rabbit when he gets identified. And then there was a very funny description of 2 other Hoaxdead types, rather plump, disheveled-looking women who were possibly high. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm quoting the very eloquent supporter of Sabine that rang me, and I'd already taken pain meds. I can hardly walk at the moment. My knee's giving out, and I've got all sorts of health things going on. Although I'm very grateful for having had 2 weeks in Lanzarote and feeling a lot better for it. And I'm on a health regime at the moment, so I'm not going to take this lying down. But I'm on pain meds, and I'm struggling at the moment. But I'm glad to report that somebody else is going to go to court today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and hopefully live stream. And I would encourage, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Tommy Robinson has question marks over him. Mackenzie Friends certainly do. You know, Sabine's been accused at different stages, and she admittedly worked for CERN and so on and so forth. But I might be wrong. I don't get that. I don't get that vibe from the woman. I don't. I think she's passionate about stopping forced adoption, and amongst hundreds, millions of people, she was and is passionate about exposing the Hampstead cover-up. So she's been in prison on remand since February. I think you're only supposed to be on remand 6 months. It seems, by all accounts, to be a show trial. The jury of 12 consists of 8 men and 4 women. There are different ethnicities represented. Some of the jurors seem to appear as young as 25. And of course, they've been instructed not to do any research or go online for the duration of the hearing, which is scheduled to be about 3 weeks. It's a show trial put on by the British establishment. I think the prosecution had 3 silks, as they call it, barristers. The cost of this to the British taxpayer is going to be extortionate, and it's built on a crooked cornerstone. Like I said, Sabine's been arrested 8 times. Many others campaigning to expose the Hampstead allegations by the children have been arrested and intimidated and so on and so forth. I myself am under investigation in Ireland with Ricky Dearman alleging I've ruined his life. Well, apparently he's holding court in Shakespearean fashion in Southwark throwing his arms around and giving the performance of his Hollywood life, saying how Sabine ruined his life and bizarrely ruined his marriage. Well, his marriage has been over since 2010 at least. So how Sabine, you know, inadvertently sending something to Theresa May and it leaks online, you know, as the third leak online, how that ruined his marriage that was broken up from 2010-11, I don't know. It seems to me it's an absolute case of not taking responsibility for what his children very credibly alleged against him and dozens of others in an alleged satanic ritual abuse paedophile ring based out of Hampstead in London. So this is, it reminds me of, so Tommy supporters, Melanie supporters, anybody fighting corruption, please, if you can, go to Southwark Crown Court this coming week and the following week. It may even spill over a bit longer. We are praying for a miracle because, as I say, it sounds like a complete setup. So the jury is, I hope it's not pre-selected or compromised, but it's certainly instructed to be asleep, to be unaware, not to do any research, and to just listen to the narrative being presented in the court. Dearman apparently was flailing and performing and saying Sabine's destroyed his life and she's done this and she's done that and it's devastating, it's heartbreaking, blah, blah, blah. And disturbingly, the jury seemed very intent. And I just pray that Sabine's legal team, and more importantly, an act of God, shows them that they are being duped or attempted to be duped. What else? I think that's all. That's all for now. Oh no, I want to read you an article of a previous case the judge presided over, and it's worth doing the research with this kind of thing, because also Justice Poffley, Anna Poffley, who oversaw the fact-finding mission in a secret family court as opposed to a criminal investigation, which should have happened after the Hampstead allegations and the corroborating medical reports. It turns out that Anna Poffley was part of representing 100 people accused of sexual assault. And I must file that. But I'll read you a case, the judge that is presiding over this case against Sabine McNeill, a case that, oh no, we don't want to minimise, we want to share screen, a case that he presided over where the bishop is painted as a poor innocent man who made a mistake in not exposing, that's the John Noakes. Here we go with this article. This is a case that the judge presiding over Sabine's case presided over this as well. And I'll read it to you, and it's a bit sickening. You can read the swing of the narrative. Lord Hope of Thorns, a former Archbishop of York, announced on Thursday that he'd resigned as an honorary assistant bishop in the Diocese of West Yorkshire and the Dales in the light of a report that criticised his response to allegations of sexual abuse. This is 31st October, so it's only a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks ago. The Cowhole Inquiry report, see, they do all these inquiries and they get nowhere, published last week, was critical of Lord Hope's response to allegations against a former Dean of Manchester, the very Reverend Robert Waddington. These names sicken me because these people abuse their positions of reverence and honour and power to rape and sodomise little boys. Last week, Lord Hope argued that the allegations reported to him had been... oh, wait a minute, am I screen sharing? No, I don't think I am. Right, let's go back to screen share. Sorry, I forgot to share screen. We'll go back to it, right. Share. Right, here we go. Now we're sharing. We will will overcome this technology. So I think you'd have heard me reading the first part of it. Last week, Lord Hope argued that the allegations reported to him had been unspecific from unnamed sources who'd indicated their unwillingness at that stage to go to the police. He genuinely believed that any complaints were being adequately dealt with by the respective dioceses in which they were alleged to have happened. So as often happens, survivors went to this bishop and said, this happened, this happened, this happened. And because they weren't instantly willing to go to the police or give names, he was like, oh, well, that's not a proper allegation, then we'll just move swiftly along. He expressed regret, however, that he and others had not been more proactive in helping one of the survivors. There were many. On Thursday, he announced that after much prayerful and considered thought, he had submitted his resignation. Believe you me, these people don't submit their resignations unless they have to, and the evidence is overwhelming. This ends my nearly 30 years of formal ministry in the Church of England, which I've always sought to serve with dedication. I will certainly continue to pray for the important, ongoing work with survivors. Forgive my cynicism. The present Archbishop of York, Dr. St. Amu, who received Lord Hope's resignation at the beginning of the week, said that he was deeply saddened by it. Lord Hope had served the Church of England with joyfulness, commitment, honesty, and holiness. How is it holy to cover up the raping of little children? This is sickening. This is mainstream media. This is church, organised religion, Catholic, Protestant, Anglican, you name it. I personally thank him for his leadership as a priest, principal of a theological college, bishop and archbishop of the province of York, and above all, as a dear brother in Christ. Christ would turn the tables on you. He would decry you as a hypocrite and a viper. He concluded, as the old saying goes, to err is human, to forgive is divine. So to err, to at the very least cover up the rape of children by the clergy and others, it was just a human error. Oh, and we need to act divinely and forgive. You don't forgive unless somebody properly repents. After his retirement as Archbishop of York, Lord Hope was appointed as priest in charge of St. Margaret's, Ilkley, but the following year resigned that post owing to ill health. From 2005, he was an honorary assistant bishop in the Diocese of Bradford, latterly West Yorkshire in the Dales. The Archbishop of Canterbury, do your research on all these people, said this week that after hearing personal stories from survivors of abuse perpetrated in the church, he broke down completely. He told journalists at a parliamentary press gallery lunch in the House of Commons on Monday of the shredding effect of hearing what we did to those people, and the sense of total failure and betrayal. Well, he went on, when you abuse a child or a vulnerable adult, you mark them for the rest of their lives. And that's true. The church should hold itself to a far, far, far higher standard than other institutions, but had failed terribly. More had yet to be revealed. He said there was a very significant legacy of unacknowledged cases. The church was taking the issue as seriously as we can. Survivors come first, not our own interests. Archbishop Welby, do some research on Justin Welby, referred to the audit of all clergy files, which is currently underway in every diocese. This process was being overseen by an external body, so to blah, 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 to avoid any claims of a cover-up, blah, blah. And the inquiry team was being led by the Bishop of Durham. The bishops investigating the bishops. It is not, I think I'm going to leave it there. It's a statement. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there. All these statements, words are cheap. Words are cheap. You can find this, look. Church Times, Lord Hope. Stop share. So that judge was involved with that inquiry, according to a source, a reliable source. And Anna Poffley was involved with the defense of 100 alleged abusers or cover-uppers of abuse. So this is serious. Like I said, the Satanists seem to manage to stay unified no matter what their dirty goings on and backstabbings and double dealings and double crossing that they do privately. They manage very well to keep up a united front for the purpose of blogging on Hoaxdead Research. By the way, that's on the dark web. Hoaxdead Research has a presence on the dark web. Why is that? I don't have a presence on the dark web. Why are you on the dark web, Karen Irving? Stephen Keyes, Shiva Burton, Rick Dougal, you know, so many others, John Kilrush. Why do you need to be on the dark web, I wonder? But, you know, it's not a laughing matter. As I say, there's somebody going to court today, tomorrow, the next day, hoping to live stream. And, you know, if we can turn out hundreds and thousands for Tommy Robinson, who's, never mind, I don't know his background and the intimate details, but I know his cause is just, that the facts and the court records show that there is a massive problem in the UK, and please God, not on its way to Ireland, but it's looking that way, of Pakistani grooming gangs, Muslim grooming gangs, trafficking vulnerable children from children's homes for prostitution and rape. So if we can turn out hundreds of thousands in support of Tommy Robinson, I would implore people to do the same for Sabine McNeill. Southwark Crown Court, I think court starts at 10 each morning. They break for lunch at 1. But the lunch break can be a good time for live streaming outside, because obviously you can't record in court, and for you know, asking some questions of the Hoaxdead reporters attending faithfully and blogging slanderously. If anybody sees a Daily Mail representative, please feel free. It may be Yanis Emmanuel feeding them the scurrilous version of events, because he's a self-avowed researcher for the Daily Mail and friend of Ricky Dearman. There are allegedly 4 other witnesses, although they seem to fade away. In Nilu's case, there were allegedly 5 accused pedophiles, only 2 of whom turned up. The other 3 said they were too scared. It's not the alleged pedophiles that need handling with kid gloves. It's the children. The bottom line is the children made extensive corroborating allegations against their father, Ricky Dearman, and multiple other adults, including their headmistress, their school teachers, the priest of Christ Church in Hampstead, Father Paul, and social workers, police. Just a ring, a pedophile ring is what the children alleged, a satanic, ritual abusing, cannibalizing, blood drinking pedophile ring based out of Hampstead. And that case was not criminally investigated. It was not properly investigated. No crime scenes were fenced off and examined or preserved. Nobody had their tech confiscated and examined forensically. And nobody was examined for identifying distinguishing marks, tattoos, scars, and piercings described in detail by the children, and pictures drawn, and so on and so forth. So, and then the restraining order, which Sabine has been jailed for allegedly breaching, is unlawful. The restraining order came at the end of a failed court case, previous court case against Sabine McNeill and Ved Chowdhury. The case collapsed with no case to answer. But after the jury were dismissed, the judge said, oh, by the way, I'm imposing a restraining order against you both. And if you breach it, you'll go to jail. and you can't go near Hampstead, you can't say this, you can't talk about it, you can't blog about it, you can't say these names, you can't blah, 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 blah. And there you go, that's your restraining order. And those are the grounds that this 74-year-old disabled pensioner who has spoken in Europe and campaigned against forced adoption and secured thousands, tens of thousands of petition signatures and literally risked everything to expose child sexual abuse, child trafficking and corruption, especially in the UK establishment. So I'm going to leave this as this not by any means an October, November update. I don't know when I'll get to that, but this is just an emergency appeal for people to go to Southwark Crown Court. Starts at 10, break for lunch 1 to 2, has been ending sometimes at 3 p.m. They're taking it nice and easy with 3 silks paid for by the British taxpayer. 3-week hearing might go to 4 weeks. Oh well, let's see what, how much that costs the British taxpayer. And it's a show trial so far. It's an attempt to shut down freedom of speech. It's an attempt, this is why I liken it to Julian Assange's predicament, although there may be a situation where he's actually being protected by the American government. It only seems like he's being prosecuted, but I don't know if I buy that. He's in court on Tuesday in America. But it's as Angie Devine keeps reminding us of that old saying, first they came for the Julian Assanges, then they went for the Sabine McNeils, then they came for me, but because I hadn't supported any of the others, there was nobody left to defend me. And that can be very real. So anybody in or around London, or who can get to London and perhaps stay with fellow campaigners for a couple of nights, please attend Southwark Crown Court this week and next week. The case is scheduled to go on 3 weeks and possibly 4. And, we need to stand against corruption. Forget the personalities for now. Stand against corruption. Go and observe. The public gallery is open. You can't film in there, but go and observe. If we can turn out, 50 people for Brian Harvey, 1,500 for the last hearing for Tommy, if we can turn out tens of thousands for Tommy being locked up unfairly, why not for this woman, although not even British, she's German, half Slavic, but she's lived in the UK for 35 years, like I've lived in Ireland for 35 years, and she's given everything. So that's it. Angela Power Disney on Facebook, angelascashes.org. And sorry, I have done 3 major interviews. I went to Lanzarote for convalescence and try and get my knee right, but I nearly had to be bloody flown home out there because my knee dislocated again while I was there. But I had a lovely 2 weeks anyway, and I got some much needed vitamin D. But since I came back, I've done 3 major interviews, which need to put up on my blog and my YouTube channel. I need to mirror them. I did 2 with Daniel Lee. His YouTube channel is DNAJ Lion, Lion. That's all one word, DNAJ Lion 7. Perhaps I'll put some links in the description box. And then I did a second part. I did 2 interviews with Daniel, and I did a second part interview with Sean Maguire of Out of the Bag Irish Radio podcast, very brave and well followed podcast. So do find those, or just get involved in whatever way you can. If you can do nothing else, please pray. Please pray for Sabine. Please pray for Elisa and Gabriel. Please pray for Thomas Dunn and Jared Cressman, who are campaigning from America. Please pray for Andy Devine and myself, Angela Power, and Neelu Berry, and Jake Clark, Rupert Quaintance, John Duan, so many that have put their asses on the line to try and get justice for these children. And at the moment, all we're seeing is a series of sickening cover-ups and scapegoating. And show trials. You know, it's like, oh, these poor innocent people, their lives have been turned upside down. It was the children that testified about Ricky Dearman and a satanic ritual abuse cult based in Hampstead. Please do your research. You can find a lot of the evidence on the American websites, londonhasasecret.com, thelegendarycampaign.com. You can also research Hampstead Cover-Up. You can research Sabine's blog, Whistleblower Kids. It's all out there. I think there were 400 million views of the children's disclosures. This is an international outcry. So let's not leave one of the campaigners to be framed and to be buried in this cover-up. God bless. And so pray, go to court if you can, do some research, share it on your media. You know, let's repair the breaches in the wall, please. God bless.